Kyiv's mayor says genocide is the only term for the situation in this city right now. The comments come after Ukrainian forces retook parts of Kyiv from the Russian military this weekend. Now, Ukrainian officials say the bodies of 410 people were removed from the streets on the outskirts of Kyiv. Horrible, horrible situation here. Hal Kempfer is a retired Marine Corps intelligence officer with roots here in the Valley, joining us live to talk about this ongoing conflict happening in the Ukraine. As always, it's great to see you, Hal.
Great to see you, Melanie.
So Ukraine and other European countries, they are standing firm on their accusations that Russia is committing these war crimes after these hundreds of civilians were discovered bound, tortured, and then shot to death. So when a world leader like Putin commits these war crimes, what should happen to him, or what can happen to him?
Melanie, what can happen, and it is happening, is there's an investigation. The International Court of The Hague is actually leads the investigation. The United Nations is also conducting an investigation. You can also bet that a number of NATO countries will support that investigation and the findings. But eventually what it'll lead to is a criminal indictment, probably against Putin, but it also would be for everyone in the chain of command, because all those troops, all those from generals down to the privates that committed war crimes are potentially indictable for war crimes and could end up before The Hague. This happened with the Balkans back in the 90s. And actually, the president of Serbia ended up actually going to The Hague and standing trial. So this can happen.
Okay. Now, U.S. intelligence officials, they also released findings last week that Putin's generals and military personnel might be keeping really significant details from him. And there's even reports of his troops rebelling and attacking each other. So do you think if Putin knew the full truth or full extent about what's happening on the ground, he'd pull those forces out right away?
You know, I'm not sure what Putin would do. And I would think that Putin at this point probably knows more than what he knew before. This is the trap of an autocrat, is they tend to build this bubble around them. And eventually they get people who are basically yes men who tell them what they want to hear. And it's clear that Putin was not getting an honest assessment, a full assessment of many things, to include what would happen in Ukraine and his own troops. But right now, the problem is he may have some grand scheme to pull troops out of Kyiv and then move them over to the east. The troops, though, all reports are that they're not cooperating. It's going to take a long time for those units to get reconstituted. And some units that they brought in from across the country have actually, believe it or not, refused to fight and are reportedly being sent back to where they came from because they just won't go in and do the battle. This is really kind of unprecedented, certainly for a country like Russia, to have troops refuse to go into battle. But that seems to be fairly common amongst a lot of their units.
Right, and so we're looking towards a very anticipated meeting between President Volodymyr Zelensky and President Putin. What do you think, or how do you think that conversation will go, and what will come out of that, do you anticipate?
Well, I think it's going to be very tough. Everything I'm seeing right now is that they have a draft agreement, sort of. There's still a lot of big differences. Ukraine says they want all of their territory back, obviously. Russia disagrees with that. They say they want to control at least the eastern portions. So there's a lot of work to go into that. And I don't know if that meeting's going to happen right away. It may, if they have the meeting, it's going to be more of a perfunctory sort of meeting, but it's not going to probably achieve a whole lot because there's just so much distance between the two sides that they'd have to cross in order to find some sort of meaningful agreement.
Hal Kempfer, thank you so much once again, our military expert, sharing his thoughts on the happenings in the war in Ukraine. We appreciate your time and always appreciate your input.
Thank you, Melanie.
Okay, 6:20.